שגריר? השגריר דנון.
It's very good to see you. Welcome to Israel for those of you who are coming here for the first time. Israel is a gigantic country. You're going to fly over the narrow waist of Israel. It's about 12 kilometers, something like that. You'll go up to the Golan and you will see to the northern border, and you'll see the terrace tunnels that חיזבאללה tried to dig into Israel, a clear violation of UN resolutions and international law. The fact that you're here represents the fairness and integrity of your approach. I wish that this characterized the UN. In the UN General Assembly this year alone, there were 20 resolutions against Israel, 6 against the rest of the world, which includes Syria, includes Iran, and so on. So it's obviously absurd. But the important thing is not merely to see the truth, which you will in this visit. It is also to speak the truth, and may I say, to vote the truth. So I have a non-hidden agenda in agreeing to Danny Danon's suggestion that you come here. We want to see you change your votes. For those of you who have already done it, thank you. For those of you who will do it, thank you in advance. The second point I have to say is that we are faced with a great aggressive power in the Middle East. The Middle East has changed a lot. If you had come here several decades ago, there would be an Arab-Israeli conflict. The Arab world, which is much bigger than Israel, aligned to destroy us. That is, I have to say, changing in an important way into practical alliances that Israel has with many of the Arab countries and formal peace treaties which we have with 2 of our neighbors, Egypt and Jordan. And these practical alliances recognize that a great shift has taken place in the Middle East. And that shift is the rise of the aggressive theocracy of Iran that seeks to conquer the Middle East, eliminate Israel, and dominate many other parts of the world. Iran has proxies. One of them is חיזבאללה. חיזbאllah just joined the government of Lebanon. That's a misnomer. They actually control the government of Lebanon. And that means that Iran controls the government of Lebanon. And it's important to send this very powerful message. Just as we stopped the terror tunnels coming into Israel, we will stop all the aggression from Lebanon or from Syria or from Iran itself. We're committed to preventing this aggression, and in so doing, we're not only protecting ourselves, Israel itself, but also protecting our neighbors and world peace. I'm sure you'll have the opportunity to see the spirit of the people of Israel and the soldiers of Israel, and I hope that you'll come back for future visits. And I hope you have a nice day. I think you'll have it. Thank you. Do you want to ask me any questions? Please do. Go ahead.
Mr. Prime Minister, thank you very much for your time, for your hospitality, and for this idea. Thank you, Danny, for bringing us here. I think Jerusalem is a unique place where all religions, all cultures have the opportunity to live together, and I could really feel very strongly, which is said in the Bible, all nations will come to it. But despite of that, there is still so much evil and hatred in the world. For example, rising anti-Semitism. What's your opinion on the causes and what are possible solutions? Thank you very much.
It's a very old disease, anti-Semitism. It's been around for about 2,500 years as a doctrine. So I'm not sure it's going to disappear quickly. The main thing that we've learned, first as the Jewish people, is that if we don't resist anti-Semitism before it arms itself, it can destroy our people. It almost did during the Holocaust. And the second lesson that other nations have learned is that this hatred only starts with the Jews, but it very quickly spreads to other parts of society and engulfs societies with hatred and fanaticism that endangers them as well. So fight anti-Semitism because it's right to do so. Fight anti-Semitism because it also endangers your societies. That's the lessons. But it's a chronic disease. You have to keep on fighting it.
Mr. Prime Minister, my name is Akwe Bonamaluel. I'm the South Sudan representative to the United Nations. Thank you, and thank you to Dan also for hosting us and inviting us, and particularly for having a time in an election season that to come and see us. Now, we want to congratulate you on the momentum that is happening in Africa with Israel, especially congratulations on the relationship with Chad. We hear that there will be a roadmap for peace. And as you know, we are all looking for peace in the area. And we want to encourage you to keep the momentum with the African. If the roadmap comes out, you'll be willing, sir, to consult with your African leaders who are willing to hear your view before we hear it in the news. Thank you.
That's kind of difficult in Israel because everything is leaked in advance. But I appreciate the fact that we have this burgeoning relationship with the countries of Africa. In fact, I flew over South Sudan on my recent visit to Chad. We shaved about an hour and a half, and we'd like to actually be able to approach Africa in the shortest possible distance because Africa is important. How do we know it's important? How do you know that what I say is true? Because I've been in Africa 4 times in the last 2 years. That has got to be telling you something. So yes, we'll be happy to consult with our African friends. We'll be happy to fly there faster. Yes.
Next time it's not going to have tea in Cuba.
Okay. It may require a parachute, yes. And I haven't done that in many, many decades. Yes.
We know that Israel has strong democratic institutions, passion for following the rule of law, and now you are performing on the economic side. Wonderful. Could you share with us what are the main policies to have such a strong economy going on in a world that is looking into a probable recession coming sooner or later? Thank you.
Well, Israel was a very controlled economy until a few years ago, and I made it a special part of my agenda, a central pillar of my agenda to introduce free markets into Israel. And the minute we introduced freer markets, Israel began to rise and rise mightily. It is not enough to have technology. Technology without free markets doesn't get you very far. It's not enough to have education. Education without free markets doesn't get you very far. But the combination of free markets, technology, and education gets you very, very far. That's essentially what we did with Israel. We liberalized the economy and allowed the initiative and genius of our people to break forth. And it's happily doing that. By the way, not only to our benefit, but the developments that we're having in agriculture, in water, in transportation, in IT, in health, and in many, many other fields of human endeavor are helping literally millions and millions of people in Africa, in Latin America, in Asia, throughout the world. And we're very grateful for that too.
We just know at the United Nations that without good regional cooperation, we can't get anywhere. And we see in your policies that you are building up strong regional cooperation. We know that the Central European prime ministers from Czech Republic, Poland, Slovakia, and Hungary are coming to see you very soon. So what is it based in your idea? What is it the base for your regional cooperation with Central Europe? Thank you.
I think it's based on the idea of advancing prosperity and advancing it through innovation. Israel is perhaps the innovation nation in the world. And if you don't innovate, you'll fall behind. And I think the leaders of the V4 understand that perfectly. It's based also on the quest for security against terrorism that unites everyone here and many others, because terrorism is a disease that is spreading from the various forces of militant Islam, attacking Muslims, attacking Arabs, attacking Europeans, attacking Latinos, attacking everyone. So everyone wants to have that extra measure of security. And Israel is very, very advanced in combating terrorism, in using intelligence and other sophisticated means to fight terrorism. We've prevented planes from being shot down from the sky. We've prevented maybe 40 major terrorist attacks in recent years in various continents. So I think that the quest, on the one hand, to have a better future, progress on the one side, and second, to combat the forces that want to take the world back to a dark medieval period, the forces of terrorism and fanaticism, that creates this basis of both regional cooperation and global cooperation on a vast scale. Israel is enjoying a diplomatic flourish unlike the likes of which we've never had. That's not reflected yet in the UN, but it's reflected in the bilateral relations that Israel has with most of the countries in the world. Nearly everyone is coming here. Nearly everyone is coming to Israel. And that includes a lot of Muslim countries as well. Last question, please.
Recently, you've just met my Prime Minister who
Yes, I did.
paid a visit here.
Yeah.
When I was a little boy, I thought Israel was in heaven. My
It is
dad
in
told
heaven.
me Israel is a real country. I just want to ask you, I was impressed by the religious freedom here, especially in Jerusalem. Going to the future, what is your view about religious freedom and the future of Jerusalem?
I think it's only under Israeli sovereignty that the the freedom of the three main monotheistic religions has been guaranteed. When the Muslims ruled, they knocked out the freedom of the Jews and the Christians. When the Crusaders ruled, they knocked out the freedom of the Muslims and the Jews. It's only when the Jewish state has assumed sovereignty over the Jewish, over our eternal capital, Jerusalem, that we guarantee religious freedom for all faiths. By the way, not only Islam and Christianity, but also Baha'is and everyone else. There is complete religious freedom here. This is part of our ethos, and part of the teachings we inherited from the great prophets of Israel. Think of every person as a child of God. Think of every human being as a child of God. And this is the basis of a human equality that is enshrined in our traditions and practiced in our policies. I think that not very far from here, about 1.5 kilometers from where we're standing, is the old city of Jerusalem and the Temple Mount. That has got to be the most explosive, potentially explosive square mile on earth. And yet it doesn't explode. You don't see synagogues being burnt, churches being destroyed, mosques being mutilated, because Israel is here. And we guarantee the religious shrines, the rights to religious freedom and religious sites for everyone. And as long as Israel is the sovereign in Jerusalem, in united Jerusalem, that's going to continue. Those who suggest that Israel divide the city will inevitably bring its descent into horrible sectoral and religious wars that plague other parts of the Middle East. You look at other parts of the Middle East and you see the horrific religious wars. You look at united Jerusalem under Israel and you see peace and mutual respect. And that's going to continue. Thank you very much. Thank you all for coming here. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you. I have to go to election.
Good luck.
I have to go to the election.